Welcome back. This program, as you know, is originating from the Cambridge House Investment Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia. The entire show is coming from this conference. You know, we started out with Frank Holmes. You got to admit, Frank is a very, very astute individual, and I think you want any information whatsoever about this particular sector, Frank is really a go-to guy. Okay, a lady who I've known for quite some time now, Rhylin Bailie. I've known you for, God, probably, what, almost 10 years? You're involved in two of our companies, two companies that I own shares in. We're going to talk first about New Zealand Energy, which I own shares in, and then we're going to talk about Southern Arc in the next hour. We're getting a lot of questions on New Zealand Energy. The stock is fairly volatile, et cetera. What's going on?
Well, it's a rough market out there right now, and the feedback that I'm getting is that the market's focused on what are you doing for us today. And New Zealand's a growth story. We're focused on what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Obviously, right now we're focused on exploration, we're focused on growing cash flow, and I'm trying to remind people that this is a very new company. We've only been around for about a year and a half. We've only drilled 8 wells. So it's just very early days. We're just getting started, and there's so many things yet to come. We've got more wells to drill just in the next couple of months in the Taranaki Basin. We've got completion operations underway at 2 wells, so we'll have results from those shortly. Then we're going into the rest of the program, which is completing that Origin acquisition, getting up there, uphole completion opportunities, new Mount Messenger targets there. We've got the whole East Coast side of the country that we haven't even sunk a hole into yet with all the unconventional shales. And then, of course, we've got these deeper formations. There's the Tikarangi, the Kapuni. Forgive me for people who are new to the story. You'll have to come to the website and see what all these formations are. But you know, we're sort of drilling at this level. There's deeper formations still that have incredible potential. Some wells from those areas have produced at 6,000, 10,000 barrels a day. So if we find something in one of those deeper formations, it's a whole new ball game yet again. So I'm just trying to keep people focused on what, you know, all the things that we're working on, all of the catalysts coming just in the next few weeks, and then through the rest of this year as we start to execute our strategy. So
I have a little bit of a different take on it than you do, and here's my take. I bought shares in NZ, New Zealand Energy, probably over a year ago, and I paid roughly $1 a share for that stock, okay? The stock performed really, really well during the year, okay? I would maintain that the reason you're seeing volatility is because it's probably one of the few successful companies out there, and it's one of the few liquid companies out there. And I think that is the catalyst behind a lot of the action. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying you're a victim of your own success.
We are, certainly. The first 2 wells that we drilled were the best wells ever drilled in the country in the Mount Messenger formation. They came in at about 1,000 barrels a day, and nobody had seen that. So everybody, including us, thought that we had found something exceptional, and they've sort of expected that all of the wells after that would follow along in that same pattern. The wells that we've drilled subsequently have been your standard wells. They command at kind of 300 barrels a day, settle down to about 100 barrels per day. What I have to remind people about as well is that in New Zealand, we're producing on average 100 barrels per day from the wells, and we're selling it at Brent pricing. If you compare that to the Alberta averages, 80% of the wells in Alberta produce around 12 barrels per day, and it sells at either WTI or even a discount to that at the Edmonton pricing. So if we can find 100 barrel per day wells at Brent pricing, we're doing pretty well. And just in that one Mount Messenger formation, we've got 140 targets that we have yet to drill. We've drilled 8 of them. We have 140 targets yet to drill. If we find 140 100 barrel per day wells, you know, we'll be pretty happy with that. And if we can get deeper and find some of those even bigger targets, those elephants that we're looking for, it's a whole new ball game.
Well, I would have to say that New Zealand Energy, really, the management, which obviously includes yourself, you got nothing to be ashamed of. Number one, I mean, you coming out of the gate, you were in production, if I'm not mistaken, just a few short months after you became public. Now, you know, I think anybody who's short-sighted and is saying, boy, you know, the stock is falling in price, what's going on, you know, I think all they have to do basically is follow your news releases, look at your financial statements, do your own due diligence, and you find out that there's really nothing wrong there.
Well, and we're still building our track history, right? We're a new company. Like I said, we've drilled 8 wells. We've had success in all of them except for 1, and that one is suspended with the intention of sidetracking it. So really, it's not a failure, partly because we still can use the well. We can still go and look at it, and every well that you drill gives you technical information. In New Zealand, there's been 500 wells drilled in the entire country ever. It's had oil and gas production since the 1890s. 90s, but only 500 wells have been drilled. So that's not a very big data set from which to draw the analogs that we need to be able to predict for people what our production rates will be and what our decline rates will be. So we're learning every day from our own exploration, and we're learning from what our peers are doing around us. And so it's very exciting to be one of the first companies, one of those what they call the first movers, to be in there in an area that's so prospective with these huge, Shell's made some discoveries that are 3 trillion cubic feet of gas and 600 million barrels of oil. There's some very, very prospective areas, and we're one of the first companies in there. So it's early days for the industry in New Zealand, and it's early days for us, but there's so much yet to come. It's very exciting.
Rhylin, do us a favor. Let's recap what the company has accomplished. You've been public for just a little over a year.
Yeah, it was August of 2011
exactly.
that we started trading.
Let's talk about the accomplishments that happened during 2012.
Sure. Well, the first well that we drilled was called the Copper Moki well. That came in December 2011 into production. Then we drilled Copper Moki 2, 3, and 4 last year. Copper Moki 2 and 3 are in production. Copper Moki 4 is from a shallower formation, so it's suspended right now while we look at what the artificial lift we might need to get that into production. Then we're actually working now on 4 different sites. So at the end of 2011, we had 1 well on 1 site. Now we're working on 8 wells on 4 different sites. So the company is really growing by leaps and bounds. We had about 10 employees in New Zealand then. I think we've got about 50 employees now. So we're really ramping up for an accelerated exploration program. We've put in an acquisition for our own production facility, which means that we can guarantee our ability to get not only our own production to market, but also to process third-party production, so it brings business opportunities for us. So we're setting the stage here to become a very large oil and gas company. That's our objective. If you ask our CEO, where do you want to take this? He says, we're building $1 billion oil company.
Well, and my guess, if anybody could do it, John Proust would be the guy who could do it.
He's got the energy.
I've known John for a long time, and he's got a really, really interesting track record.
And a very skilled team. That's the key, right? Is we've
not
only got the North
quick.
American, we've got these guys, our directors and our executive director, these guys have been working in the Western Canadian Sedimentary Basin their whole careers, 30, 40 years, these guys. Sorry to date them, but and so we've got the North American expertise, and then we've got the New Zealand in-country expertise with a technical team that's been working together for 20 years as consultants. They've been involved with most of the major oil and gas discoveries there. They also know the permitting side of things, the community engagement side of things. So it's marrying sort of the knowledge of North America with the in-country understandings, both from a technical and community side, to really be successful. Our land manager, for example, so the man that's going out and getting land access agreements is himself a First Nations. In New Zealand, they're called iwi. He's very well respected and is a leader in the First Nations community. So I mean, that goes, speaks volumes about the company's commitment to sustainability and social responsibility. I think we've really got all of the elements that we need to have a very, very successful oil and gas company. Now we just need to get in there and execute the strategy.
We're going to be following New Zealand Energy for quite some time. By the way, I want to announce that I'm going to add to my position. I subtracted a little bit this past week, but we're adding again to our position. So 3 days after this airs, I will be buying some more stock. Stick around. Big Al's going to be right back.
Thanks.